Yeah, so I just wanted to make this short little video on how my soldering technique has evolved over the years. So I used to like twist wires together and stuff, and now I have this more like advanced splicing technique. And this right here, this is shrink tube, which requires 70 degrees Celsius, like 150 degrees Fahrenheit, to like shrink and create a insulated protective layer around your solder point. Pretty cool and handy stuff, and you can just use a hair dryer to shrink it. So of course, before you solder, you want to pre-cut your shrink tube and slide it down the wire. And keep in mind, this is going to work differently for smaller gauge wires. This is just standard like wall outlet lamp uh, cord wire. So first I strip the wire, and then normally it's in a kind of a neat little bundle, but I found like if you kind of fluff it up and spread out the individual strands a little, you can create like this sort of like fluffy. Uh, Sometimes action to speak better than words, right? So it's essentially taking the two ends, which are kind of somewhat loose, and sliding them together so that all of the strands are kind of like intermingled, facing opposite directions. So there's no twisting happening, no spinning. In fact, it's like the polar opposite of all of that stuff. The only thing that's kind of tricky about this method is you kind of have to just, over the course of a short period of time, scrunch the wires down against the others. Sometimes some of them get like a little out of whack there, but in general, it doesn't take too long to sort of compress them, right? Then the actual soldering itself, is going to take place. Pretty straightforward. Important to disturb the column as little as possible, because you don't want those copper bits going all over the place. With most soldering, it's usually best to heat the block that you're soldering, so that the solder just kind of like melts all through it, relying on the flex core to help grease the wheels, as it were. And I don't usually use this thin of a gauge solder for this big of a gauge wire, but it's all I have right now that's non-lead solder. So yeah, once you got enough solder in there, which that looks about right, everything's fully coated and tinned. This is a really strong bond. This is a lot stronger than oh wow, the shrink tube kind of shrunk a little there. That's a problem. I'll have to carefully cut through that to get it off of there. But yeah, this is a really strong bond, a lot stronger than twisting or anything like that, because all the fibers are running in parallel, and there's no like there's no bending stress at all. Like, this is just straight up fibers running back and forth. And the way that they're connected together and bonded with the solder, it's really a solid connection. This was a sort of an unanticipated thing, because normally you'd slide the shrink tubing farther back, but it's kind of cool that you get to see at least how it works. So yeah, anyway, just kind of a cool technique that I thought was worth sharing, because yeah, my technique has evolved a lot over the years, and this is kind of like, I feel like, the final evolution. I don't feel like there's really a better way to solder heavy gauge wire together like this for cords. And once you have your shrink wrap tubing on there and it's shrunk down and nice and professional looking, you get much better results. I mean, it's almost like the cord is still intact. I probably then add an additional layer of like electrical tape over the top just to hide everything too. Anyway, thanks for watching.